Hey viewers, my name's Cara. I'm your Tuesday host on the Pagan Perspective, and this week we're talking about whether we've had any experiences with being guided away from danger or towards something, and what do we think that kind of guidance comes from. So glad the lighting in my house is so ace. It's like always yellow, because I have those lights, you can't even see them, that are like lantern things. There's yellow, and I got a new lamp. I should be looking at the camera and not at the screen. I got a new lamp, which is right there, which is helping me to not be totally invisible to you right now, which is nice, but yeah, I apologize for the lighting at my house. I have moved home for the summer. So now let's get to the topic. I have it on my phone. I took a picture of it. I don't have like an internet phone or anything sweet like that. From All Things Pagan, has anyone ever had an experience of being guided away from danger or been led towards something? And if you have had an experience like this, what do you think of it as? Being protected by the god and goddess, a being who cares for you, or being led by the fae, as someone said on my video? The simple answer is yes. I suppose I have had these experiences, and I just never thought of them at the time as like being led away from danger or anything like that. Like, I've never felt that that's what was happening, but I've definitely had a lot of different moments where I felt that the universe was telling me to pay attention to something for some reason. The first thing that popped into my head, it happens a lot to me with animals. And not even necessarily animals that I consider to be my guides or anything like that sometimes, but other times just animals in general. There was one time, a couple summers ago, I suppose, I don't really remember, that I had a dream about mice, and I don't remember what the dream was, but I remember that after I had this dream, I started seeing mice everywhere. Like, we found a little nest of baby mice at my mom's boss's house when I was weeding her garden, and I found a little nest of baby mice, and there was a mouse. I don't remember the exact details, but I remember I found it like in the house or something, and so we put it in a little box, or maybe my cat had gotten it and I wanted to save it from her. I think that's what was happening. One of the cats was chasing a mouse, and I got it so I could take it away because I didn't want her to kill it. And it was a little tiny mouse, like that big, and I probably actually have a picture of it. I'll see if I can find the picture and put it in here. I was trying to let it out of the box into the field across the street, and I like tipped the box so that it would run out, but instead it ran up the box, up my arm, onto my shoulder, and like went around the back of my hood. I was probably even wearing this, and it like sat there, and I was like, okay, and then it ran down my other arm and was sitting on my finger, and that's why I have the picture of it, like little tiny baby thing. And I remember at the time I looked up like what do mice symbolize, and at the time it was a message that really fit what was going on in my life. And again, I don't remember the details of it now, I just remember that this happened. Also, what happens to me a lot is wind. Like wind coming up out of nowhere and practically blowing me over and then going away in like a second. Which, I mean, hello, it's nature. Nature does weird things. That doesn't necessarily mean anything, but sometimes I'll be walking across campus and I'll be thinking about, I don't know, something, and the wind will just kick up, and then I will pay attention for a second, and then it'll go away, and I'll be like, okay, that wasn't normal wind, because there's no wind right now. Like, okay, did that wind even just happen? I don't know what just happened. So things like that just make me kind of pay attention more. I don't know necessarily if there's a message behind that, but that happens sometimes. And mystery is a big one. My cat, I think you all know by now, when she was still alive, I would see her when I was at school, and like when I would take walks outside and things like that, I would see a black cat, and there were black cats, like stray cats, around the residence halls, so I normally would think it was one of them, but then I would either like look back at it for a second, or I would take a step toward it and it would just disappear. Incorporeal being. I always kind of thought, like, oh, that looks like mystery, I wonder if she's at home, but then again, So I always thought of those experiences as mystery herself, not as like a messenger from anyone else, but mystery herself watching over me and wanting me to be okay and whatever. And it's really cool to think that this is one of the only places that I can say this, and you won't all think that I'm totally crazy, but I hear voices. I do, mostly saying my name, but other times it'll be like a quick sentence or something, and the thing is, I always, like, I hear it, and I know that it's not someone else because I'm totally alone or whatever, or like there will be people far away, but this voice was right here, kind of thing. And I always stop and I go, yes, or what, or say that again, and I like talk back to it. They never say anything else, never, which I think is rude. So I always try to not like freak out entirely, and I think that I would be prepared if they said something back, but I'm pretty sure that the day it happens, I'm gonna freak out a little bit, and I'll be like, oh my god, oh man, it actually, whoa, hey, what's up? How you doing? But the most recent time that happened to me, I was walking across campus. No one is like out around except there are a couple like professors standing underneath the archway of this one building because it's during class, because I'm going to work. I don't have class at this point, so anyone that would be outside, they're in class. So I'm walking across campus and I pass these people who are under the one building. I don't know any of them. I keep walking. I am halfway to work when I hear someone yell, "Kara!" really loudly, like right behind me. It sounds like my roommate from freshman year. So I turn around and I'm like, Sarah? Nobody's right behind me. So I'm looking around, I'm like, is she off in the distance? And it echoed, because things echo a lot on campus. There's like, the way that the buildings are set up, things carry. So I'm looking around to see if she's there. Nobody's there, even that's my age, or anyone that I know. So I like walk back, and I go back over to those people under the arch, and I'm like, would any of them have called? No, I don't know any of those people. None of them would have called me. So I'm like, okay. So I keep walking and I go to work. And then when I get to that building, I turn around and I see one of my friends from the theater department carrying our little wagon of prop stuff across campus. So I'm thinking, maybe she saw me and called me from across there. Didn't sound like her, but maybe, I'm just trying to come up with any reason this could have happened. So I go up to her and I'm like, Gwen, did you just yell my name across campus? And she's like, no. Did you see me walking? And she's like, no. I probably wasn't out of the theater building yet. And I'm like, did you hear anybody else yelling? I'm just asking her all these questions, and she's like, no, are you hearing things again? I'm like, yeah. And again, I don't know why that happens. It just, I pay attention to it, so I'm hoping maybe it's just getting me used to hearing things, so that when there's actually something particular that needs to be said, I will hear it. Or, I don't know, hearing that made me turn around and go back and look for it for a minute, so maybe there was something ahead of me that I was meant to avoid, and keeping me out of my usual path for that minute kept me from running into that thing. I don't know, because I didn't run into it. Because there are always these things that, I'll come across something and I'm like, oh, man, really did I have to run into that right now? If I had just been here 2 minutes later, that would not have happened. I wouldn't have had to see that, I wouldn't have had to deal with it, whatever. Or if I was just there a minute sooner, I could have missed that. So I don't know, maybe I feel like that could happen. The only time that I can think of being guided away from danger is that when I used to go ghost hunting a lot with my mom, if there was ever anything that felt weird, I was never really scared of anything. If I'm walking down a dark hallway, I'm going to be, kind of wary about it, but I was never really super freak outish about anything. But sometimes I would be sitting there and I would get really super dizzy or lightheaded. It didn't scare me necessarily, but I would tell everyone else, and that's how they would know, we need to get out of here, because once Kara feels something's going on, that we shouldn't be right here right now, whether it's because it's a bad thing or because it was too much energy, made me dizzy, or whatever it was. That would be the only thing that I've ever experienced that I feel was telling us to get away from something, because there was too much of something going on that it made me dizzy. So those are the kinds of experiences that I have with that sort of thing. As for what do I think it is, I've never thought of it specifically as a message from God and Goddess, or a message from divinity. In the case of mystery, I saw it as mystery wants to take care of me, so a specific being in that case. I have sometimes felt that something is my grandfather watching over me, because if something comes up that reminds me of him, then I think, oh, Grandpa's paying attention right now. And so in that case, I think it's him, or it's mystery, or whomever, specific things. Other things, though, instead of thinking of them as God and Goddess sending me a message specifically, I've always thought of it as the universe. That includes the God and Goddess, but I've always thought of it as that broader category of energy, sending me a message or having me listen to something, or I don't really know. But yeah, I've always thought of it as the universe sending me a message, or specific beings, I suppose. I've never thought of it as being led by the fairies. Or the fae, excuse me, is the term that you used. Because even though I've always loved them, I don't think I've ever actually had an experience with them, which is kind of sad. That is my video for this week. Thank you very much for listening to my rantings and ramblings of my silly personal stories, and I will see you guys next week. Oh yeah, we only have one substitute right now because the other substitutes are current members, so I think all of us should just do next week's topic, because next week is supposed to be a subs week, but there's only one person being a sub right now. Obviously, Richard should get to do the topic next week, but I think the rest of us should figure out who's going to do next week with him, because I haven't put up the video yet to audition for subs, and I apologize for that. I was going to do it before the subs week, but I'm going to do it this weekend after subs week, so we'll have subs for next month. I'm sorry, I didn't get on that, I know. This weekend, I will put up a video for you guys to send in audition videos. Okay? Okay, I will see you next week. Thank you very much for watching, and blessed be.